everybody! Welcome to Arch's Garage. Stay tuned for this episode and we'll see you in a few.
Alright, the CubCadet's back in. Everything's running good, everything's working good. As you can see, she runs good, but remember, on the last video I pointed out, this crap job of welding over here. This bird crap weld attempt to fix to the lift handle for the deck. We'll have to take this all apart, and I gotta make something. I talked about this in the last episode that I did on, getting this thing going and figuring out the issues with it. Somebody with it. The mechanisms in here, in my estimation, this is light commercial or prosumer residential. To me, I see this I see prosumer residential in a sense. Somebody with a bit more property that wants a little bit of something. It's too lightweight for real commercial use. And they really kind of made it lightweight. With this kind of engine and the transmission that's on here, it really reminds me more of a lawn tractor that's missing the steering wheel and the engine's in the back, in my estimation. But it's in good shape, and it's a 2012, or at least the engine was 2012 from what I remember. And we went over all this stuff. We sorted out all these problems. I had mentioned this might be a problem, and it is now. And he says, well, is there something you could do to beef up the rest of it? Well, I don't think so. I did. I added the washers in over here, which we'll take another look at. It kept things a little straighter and a little more square, but it's thin. It's a thinner material. So what we're going to work on is getting this lift mechanism to work properly. And I'm not just going to patch that. We have to think about what actually it's doing, and how we can see it's hanging now on the other side. Now, one of the things he mentioned to me, and I'll get you in close in a bit, he said somebody put that nice bag on, right? That nice frame bag, and they made this sort of wire frame. He says, I suspect that it was never, obviously not meant for that, and that might be its problem. It was never meant to carry that weight, that load. And I would agree. I would definitely agree. Although that's a nice addition, it's a problem. And there's no bearing really over here. Everything, again, I'll show you, there's no bearing. There's no bearing surface. It's just steel on steel. There's no bushing. There's no bearing material. There's no additional support. It's just all hanging on itself on steel, rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. There's nothing that you can really grease or lube. You can put a squirt of this or that and keep it clean. How could I make it beefier? That's what we're going to look into. Stay tuned. Here's what we're working with. Okay. I don't know what this was, but we'll get a closer look at that later. I'll show you what I'm going to use, but what I'm going to do is, now that it's lifted up, I want to strap this deck up, and let's remove this whole piece. That way I can clean it up, get up on the table, get it nice and clean, make the piece I want to make, and then reinstall it. So let me work on that. Disconnect it here, on that side. With the deck up out of the way, it shouldn't be too difficult, I guess. It should move to the side, back and forth. This is a stop. It's a plastic stop. And that kind of keeps it, a little bit more organized and arranged from slopping back and forth too far. All right, let me go work on that. All right, this is just a nice piece of stainless. There's a stainless door from a big NEMA 12 cabinet enclosure, outdoor. Let me just finish going over this. I'm going to change out my pad. I'll flip it. I'll give you a look at that, because it's time, right? Because you weld on it, and it's stuff, regular steel, you can pretty much kind of weld to this with regular steel. It's not going to have the same effect. I mean, I wouldn't trust it, but just the splatter will weld in and stick to it. I think on this side, yeah, there's some gackers there. Instead of using like a 40 grit pad, I think I'm just going to come in with the stone just to knock it down. It's gotten really dirty and gross, and it's not grounding right, and so it's time to give it a good cleaning. Hey, look, I think it was a Hoffman. That's the old tag, but it'll give you the NEMA rating and stuff. Sorry, fellas, it's going to be a little noisy in here because of the fans and everything. It's hot. So this is what they welded on there. Hold on, let me get my glasses. Hold on. So they just kind of grabbed a piece of junk and welded that on, just hack, stitch welded, bird crap welded. And I think this piece broke off, so I'm not sure what they even welded, but you can see here, it didn't do anything. Oh, it went like this. It didn't do anything. So, what I'm thinking is this. So if you see how it lays on the table, the shot is just about wide enough. You see that lays like that. So we're not going to touch that one yet. And then there's this pin in it. And remember, I put a little washer on there, so it should be okay. And it's actually coming off. All right, it's only got a little tack over here. So why don't we take that pin out? Look at the difference in size here. All right, that's good. And this one as well, which they're about the same size. This is out of a Craftsman steering gear sector, which I think stripped or whatever, but we could use that. But I'm thinking, when I got two of these, that's one of the things I was doing today, is clean up scrap. This is too thin, although that might be useful to reinforce this side. And so what I'm thinking is we'll grind that off. We'll open that up a little bit, slip it through here. It's more than long enough. Then we'll come over here, and there's not much, honestly, holding that on either. We'll grind that up. Cut a hole where, once we locate it, we'll cut a hole, we'll take some dimensions, and we can lay it down, and I can draw it out and see where we want to be. In fact, you know what? Yeah, one of the kind of neat things you can do with a grid like this, I mean, I can do it somewhere else too, but yeah, let's just line this up. You could do it on a piece of wood or whatever, but we could just set it up here. But we can come back and set this up. Maybe I'll do it on that nice piece of stainless or something. Let me see. I might want to do it on a flat piece of wood. I don't have a really big piece of steel. That would be really heavy too. I wish I had a good welding table. That stainless is nice, but it's a little warpy. Although if I clamp it down, it won't be. So before I get too involved, I think what you can see where I'm going with this is that we could lay this out on a piece of wood or the piece of steel, put our marks down, and get it all where we want it. And then when I make this piece, we can cut all this off and put it back, and we'll be right where we need it. All right, so I'll bring you in as I figure this out. So we got it lined up here. Fine, you know, we'll get close enough. That's close to center. I think it'll be good. And then let me figure out how I want to transfer the mark to here. And then I'll drill it. Now you can see why I spent a little extra time cleaning this, making it nice. Now I flipped it the other way. Usually I have the edges up because it captures the rollies, the hot rollies, but it's flatter this way. And so I just did my layout. So you got a center line here. I used the T-square, pull a square line to the edge just for clean. That's your datum line. And then a mark there on the center of this shaft. I drew the line up. Get it all nice and flat and square. I know it's a little shiny, but, and then just kind of, while I still have it, right, we got an arrow there, that's your center. Another arrow here, that's your other center. 20 3/4, try to keep it there. That's measured from here, right, inside that pocket to sort of the inside of that pin area. And now I'm going to go clean up these things. We're going to get the pin out of this, like I said, because we'll reuse it, and we'll clean off this nonsense, and then I could figure out what my measurements are for our new stock and go from there. I'll just use up some of these scrap cutoff wheels. Not much left to them, but we'll use them up. Yeah, that's all nice and clean. Pieces off, thrown out. So we don't want to remove any material from here. This is a wear point. But, you know, if you had to, you could build this back up with weld. And, you know, you could clean it up and make something resembling round. We're good here. We just want to go back enough to get to, you know, the paint or the coating removed. So we'll bring this back in. And let me see if I could make the next piece. There we go. Okay. So we got it lined up here. Fine, you know, we'll get close enough. That's close to center. I think it'll be good. And then let me figure out how I want to transfer the mark to here. And then I'll drill it. All right, I don't have a 5/8 bit, standalone bit. I got to get some. I have a 3/4, but we need 5/8. Let's work with this. I'll have to flip it and then probably go in there and ream it out a little, which is okay. Let me see. I think one more notch. All right, let me finish it up. Yeah, we got to go to this guy. So it's 1, 2, third one down. You can put tape or paint marker. I got my handy dandy succo vac. Got that from Grumman years ago. It's just pneumatic, Venturi operated. Oh, look at the difference between these two. Right, this is the piece of crap that... Alright, so the hole size over here is a little different. It's close. But I just want to kind of beat it up a little bit. And just go take a look and see on our layout, because this is a little bit off. I don't think it will matter. But it has to go in this direction. So just to verify, the pin should be long enough. But just to verify, and then I'm going to peen over the edge. I'll show you. All right, we're good. The other one is also slightly offset on the center. I'm just going to chick it. Just distort a little bit. You could do both sides, but... And then I'll drive it in. We'll just give it a tap. It's going to be welded, but I don't want the hole to be too big. I want it to stay in position. There you go. That way it stays in the position I want it in. Now we're going to weld this, but we don't want to over weld it, because this is like a replaceable part. We want to be able to grind it like I did without making a big mess. And you can also see that it's lifted up a little bit. It's got these little feet, little dimples on it to keep it up off the surface. You get a bit more of a weld on there. So we're just going to tack it in a couple of spots, and we should be good to go. And I'll lay it on there and we'll weld it up. Up, center line there. My marks are in the right spot. Over here, center line good. I think we're a little off here with the center line on that. It's like maybe a 16th to an 8 shy. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Remember, when this thing wears. But she's pretty square. I need to get one of those assembly tables. You know, Harbor Freight's got some nice stuff for about 160 bucks. That would... Little lightweight, but great for this. I could have bolted it down and really, really nailed it. But that's coming up. That'll be next year probably. Let's glue it. let's rack it. So we're all the way up. So no issues here. Everything's clearing. Let's come down, not all the way. Okay, everything looks good here. Just give it a good visual. It feels good. Go up a notch, another notch, another notch, another notch. Let's go about here. Yeah, that's good. She's nice and smooth. No, she's not. When I got this thing, it was all over this place. The deck was really wobbling. So all of the stress is really over there now. That's where that big bag hangs. And like I said, we talked about it, so he kind of knows. This is a discussion for a live show, talking about this. It's not really made for it. But I think we're good. Yeah, she feels good. Nice and smooth. She's in beautiful shape. I'm going to leave the top off, and if I do a little cutting, I'll show you guys in a bit. All right. We've come to the end, right? So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And last comments on it. Well, as I've already said, it's not really, this machine is not for contracting. This is actually, November. So I did this quite a while ago, actually, in the season. And he's been using it. And he uses it more as like a finish mower, which that would be good. I don't think he always uses it with the bag. Or I should say, in this case, it is the grass catcher. That thing is not all that heavy. Certainly not because there's a lot of aluminum in it, but there is some steel in it. And it's not that heavy for a commercial machine, definitely not. But when it loads up with grass and wet grass, it's too heavy for this machine. And you could see the kind of bird crap welding that the other person did. And even with the contraption they made to hold the grass catcher on, it doesn't stay on properly. It's not lining up properly. That's not my job. It's not my job. So the thickness of the arm, that sort of L bracket or that lift arm extension, I increased considerably from the original one that broke, that somebody bird crap welded on some piece of scrap. So that one, as you know, is considerably thicker. I took a thinner piece that I showed, and I didn't really get into showing it, but I welded it on top of the one on the other side, which was still good, and I welded all that up. So that's stronger, but there's nothing I can do about the rest of it. It's all appropriately sized material and no bushings or replaceable bushings or grease fittings or anything like that. So all appropriately sized to be just strong enough for non-commercial homeowner, domestic use, right? Regular, somebody wants a decent walk behind. It's easy to manage, and that it is, and it cuts pretty well. Previous episodes, I went over the deck. I aligned the deck. You have to time it. Check that out. There's some other work that I did on there. I did a belt replacement. The person bought a belt, and the belt numbers were correct, but the belt was too short. They forced it on, screwed up a lot of things. I show that in one of the previous episodes. Now, one more episode I'd like to put out is I like this motor, the MTD motor, or whoever is making it. Ken Small Engine says it's MTD, but it's, it's branded, kind of. Everything is this sort of yellow branding, right? CubCadet. But that motor's like 10 years old. I want to say maybe 12. It's in really nice shape. I did an episode on doing the valves, and I like it. So I want to do a quick episode on the carburetor, because the carburetor is actually pretty nice. We always joke about, what does the internet need in small engines? More carburetor videos. Yeah, but this carburetor, I'll do a quickie on it because it is kind of neat. I'll put little pictures, or I'll run some B-roll over this, just so you can see it real quick. But it is nice. This is a potential motor for maybe a Turfmaster, Time Master, something else. If you guys see what I'm holding in my hand here, if you recognize it real quick, is that end. All right, let it focus. And then here's this end. You guys recognize it? Right. So what about, I think this is one of my Lawn Boy pieces. I'm not sure why it's still in the garage, but I think that's what it is. What about a bag? And he had said that. What about some kind of a bag? That would be nice. Or if you could use, I said I could make something like this, and I could use it to hold up with a little lanyard or a piece of vinyl or something, to hold up that grass catcher, that commercial grass catcher, just to support it a little bit more. That might be something that we could do. Anyway, he's moved on and I've moved on, and it's all potential, in the future. And again, thanks for watching.